Hey everyone, welcome back to Everyday English Pod. Today we're going to be talking about something that is so fundamental to how we experience life.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation that we have with ourselves inside our own heads.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about self-talk.
Self-talk.
That constant inner dialogue that can sometimes really color our perceptions and really fuel our emotions.
It really can.
It can be, a really powerful ally boosting our confidence.
Absolutely.
Or it can be like a relentless critic just kind of undermining our efforts at every turn.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to try to unpack today. Our mission is to give you some practical tools to help you transform that inner critic
Absolutely.
into a more positive, encouraging voice. And to do that, we're going to be looking at some fascinating material that we found on this topic.
Absolutely.
And hopefully giving you some actionable strategies for cultivating a stronger, more confident mindset.
That's it.
So let's get started. What exactly is this thing we call self-talk?
Well, in the most basic sense, it's that internal monologue. It's the stream of thoughts that are constantly just running through your mind. It's kind of like you're constantly interpreting, events and situations and even your own capabilities.
Right.
And so it plays a huge role in how we feel and how we react to the world.
It does.
As we said, it can be positive. It offers that encouragement and affirmation.
Right.
But so often, it ends up being very negative.
Yeah, it does. And I think that the very first step in changing that inner voice is just becoming aware
Absolutely.
that it's even there.
Yes.
And what it's actually saying.
100%.
It's like tuning into a radio station that you didn't realize was playing in the background.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
That is.
It's so true. Once you can just recognize it and observe it,
Right.
Without judgment, then you can start to identify those recurring patterns, especially those negative loops that tend to drag us down.
It's interesting. There's been research in cognitive behavioral therapy that highlights that. Recognizing these automatic negative thoughts is a really effective way to combat things like anxiety and even depression.
Wow.
So, it's not just about feeling better.
Wait.
It's about actual mental well-being.
Yeah. So where do these negative thoughts even come from? It's like they just appear out of thin air.
Well, they often come from self-doubt and fear.
Okay.
Especially when we're doing things that are outside our comfort zone.
Right.
Or when we're facing some kind of challenge. Those insecurities, they just kind of bubble up in the form of negative self-talk.
They do.
I know.
Yeah, like those little jabs.
Right.
You're not good enough for this.
Yep.
Or you're going to fail.
100%.
I think we've all had those.
We all have.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always mess things up, or, I'm just bad at this. And, a really important thing to realize is that while these thoughts are super common, they're often what are called cognitive distortions.
What does that mean?
It's these patterns of negative thinking that aren't actually based on reality.
Sure.
They're these beliefs we've just accumulated over time. And the good news is that beliefs can be examined and they can be changed.
Okay, so just because we think it doesn't mean it's true.
That's it.
It's like our brain just defaults to these settings that maybe need an upgrade.
100%. And another sign of negative self-talk is that
What?
we tend to focus so much on our flaws and our weaknesses.
Oh, yeah, we do.
And we totally overlook all the strengths and any progress that we've made.
We do. It's like we have this magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And we're just looking at all the imperfections.
Exactly. And ignoring everything else.
Right. Okay, so we've identified the inner critic. Now let's talk about the opposite.
Absolutely.
What does positive self-talk look and sound like?
Well, positive self-talk is really a conscious effort to kind of affirm your strengths.
Okay.
And to focus on more constructive, encouraging thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Now, a lot of people think that, positive self-talk means just being overly optimistic all the time.
Right.
And, research actually shows that, what's more effective is something called realistic optimism.
What's that?
So you acknowledge the challenges,
Yeah.
but you still maintain this belief in your ability to cope and find solutions.
Okay.
And so it's not about denying reality.
Okay.
It's about choosing a more helpful perspective.
So instead of saying, I can't do this,
Right.
what's a more realistically optimistic way to think about it?
You would say something like, this is difficult,
Okay.
but I'm capable of figuring it out.
Uh-huh.
I can take it one step at a time.
Right.
It's shifting from feeling helpless to a more empowered problem-solving approach.
I see. So it's really the language that we use
Yes. Yeah.
that shapes how we feel about it.
Exactly. It's all about self-efficacy.
Yeah.
You know, think about how you would talk to a friend if they were facing the same challenge.
Right.
You'd be so encouraging and supportive.
I would.
So extend that same kindness to yourself.
That's a good point.
Be your own best friend in a way.
Be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. We're often much harder on ourselves
We are.
than we would ever be with someone else.
Yeah.
So, okay, we understand the difference between the negative and the positive.
Yeah.
How do we actually make the shift?
Well, the good news is that self-talk, like any habit,
Okay.
can be changed with practice.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's not always going to happen overnight,
Right.
but it's absolutely possible. And the first step is awareness.
Right. That tuning in.
Exactly.
So how can we become more aware of when it's getting negative?
One way is to really pay attention to the words that you're using in your thoughts.
Okay.
You know, are you using a lot of absolutes, like always, never, impossible?
Like, I always screw this up.
Yeah.
I never get this right.
Yeah. And so these are often exaggerations, and they can point to these deeper negative beliefs.
I see.
Another really helpful technique is something called thought journaling.
Oh.
So you just take a few minutes every day
Uh-huh.
and you write down what's been going through your mind.
Okay.
And this can help you to identify those recurring themes of negativity
Right.
and also those triggers that might be setting it off.
So it's like situations or
Yeah,
maybe even times a day.
exactly. You know, certain people interactions, times a day, all these things can be triggers.
So we write it down and then we can look at it more objectively.
Yeah, you get it out of your head and onto paper.
Right, right. Okay, so once we notice those negative thought patterns, what's next?
Well, then you want to challenge those thoughts.
Okay.
So when you have a negative thought,
Uh-huh.
just pause and ask yourself,
What?
is this thought really based on facts, or am I just assuming? Is this really a fair assessment of me and my abilities? What evidence do I have that supports this thought?
Right.
And what evidence contradicts it?
Ah.
And very often you'll find that the negative thought isn't based on reality at all.
Right.
It's just this distorted perception.
Okay, can you give us an example
Yeah,
of how we might challenge that in real time?
absolutely.
Let's say that thought.
I'll never be a mistake.
Okay, so let's say that thought comes up.
Uh-huh.
You want to challenge it
Right.
by saying, is that really true?
Mm-hmm.
Have I made zero progress?
Okay.
Or am I actually learning and improving?
Right.
And it's okay if it takes time and effort.
Right. It doesn't have to be perfect right away.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
You know,
That feels much better already.
it does.
But what if jumping right to a positive affirmation
Yeah.
feels inauthentic?
Yeah.
Like I'm forcing it.
Totally.
Is there something in between?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If going straight to positive feels too much,
Okay.
you can start with neutral language.
What do you mean? So, for example, instead of saying I'm terrible at this,
Yeah.
you could say I'm still developing this skill.
Oh, I see.
So it's not negative,
Right.
but it's not overly positive either.
Neutral.
It's neutral.
Okay.
And it can be a really helpful bridge to
Right.
get you to that more positive place.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So once we're comfortable with that, then how do we start incorporating these positive affirmations that we hear so much about?
So once you've kind of gotten the hang of recognizing and challenging those negative thoughts,
Uh-huh.
you can start to replace them with these affirmations,
Okay.
which are basically positive statements
Uh-huh.
that are aimed at the beliefs you want to strengthen
Okay.
about yourself.
So for example.
So let's say you're working on your self-confidence.
Okay.
You might use affirmations like, I am capable and competent,
I am capable and confident.
or I trust my abilities,
Okay.
and it's important to choose statements that really resonate with you.
Right. And so the idea is if we keep repeating these things to ourselves,
Yeah.
we'll start to believe them.
Exactly. Affirmations work because they're consciously reinforcing
Okay.
the beliefs you want to have.
Okay.
And so you want to start by writing down a few
Okay.
that feel authentic to you
Okay.
and keep them visible, put them on your mirror,
Yeah.
your phone, your desk,
Right.
anywhere. You'll see them regularly.
So I'm constantly reminded of certain
Exactly.
things.
Because those visual reminders can be really powerful.
Yeah. Okay. How often should we be doing this?
Well, consistency is key here.
Okay.
Your brain strengthens the connections
Uh-huh.
based on the thoughts that you focus on the most.
So if I keep saying I'm resilient, I will become more resilient.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
It's like rewiring your brain
I see.
through repetition.
So it's not just about saying the words.
No,
It's about really believing them.
it's about feeling the meaning
Right.
behind the words.
Okay.
So-
And to make them even more powerful, should I link them to
Yes.
actions?
So you can connect your affirmations
Okay.
to specific actions.
Give me an example.
So let's say, you're about to start a difficult task.
Uh-huh.
You could say to yourself, I am focused and capable of tackling this,
Okay.
And so you're combining that positive thought
Right.
with an intention.
Right. Okay, so what about acknowledging our progress?
Yes.
Even in small ways, does that tie into this?
It absolutely does. Make a conscious effort to acknowledge those small wins,
Guys.
and you can use affirmations to remind yourself of your progress.
Okay.
So after you successfully navigate a difficult situation,
Uh-huh.
you can say, I handled that situation effectively.
Right.
And this reinforces the positive behavior, and it shows you that your self-talk is working.
Yeah, like a little self-congratulation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so we're building awareness, challenging negativity, using neutral language as a bridge.
Replacing negative thoughts with affirmations and then celebrating our progress.
Absolutely.
That's a lot.
It is.
What other techniques are out there?
Well, another really powerful technique is visualization.
Okay.
And this is basically creating mental images
Mm-hmm.
of yourself achieving your goals.
Okay.
So whatever it is, giving a presentation, having a difficult conversation,
Bro.
reaching a fitness goal,
Right.
you want to take some time to mentally rehearse that success.
Okay, so it's like I'm watching a movie in my head
Exactly.
of me succeeding.
Yes. And this works
Okay.
because our brains
Yeah.
responds to imagined experiences almost as if they're real. So this can really reduce anxiety and build your confidence because you're seeing yourself succeed.
Yeah.
And so you're more likely to believe that you can do it.
But it's not just about picturing the end result, right?
No, that's right. You want to visualize the steps involved as well.
Okay.
So, don't just focus on the final outcome. Imagine yourself preparing for it,
Right.
handling any obstacles that might come up,
Okay.
demonstrating the skills that you need to succeed.
So it's like I'm creating this roadmap
Yeah.
in my mind.
A mental roadmap, exactly.
Okay. And can we combine visualization with affirmations?
You absolutely can. As you're visualizing yourself succeeding,
Okay.
you can repeat those affirmations.
So let's say I'm picturing giving a presentation.
Yeah.
I could be saying to myself,
You could say, I'm well prepared.
uh-huh.
I speak with confidence and clarity.
Okay.
And this combines the mental image with the belief.
Okay.
And it makes it even more powerful.
Yeah, that makes sense. When's a good time to practice this?
Well, practicing during quiet moments can be really effective.
Okay.
So like right before you go to sleep or first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Your mind is less distracted then.
Right.
And you can really focus.
Like I'm planting the seeds of success.
Exactly. And remember the visualization, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about cultivating that confidence and clarity.
Okay.
Even if things don't go exactly as planned,
Right.
the practice itself helps you to be more resilient
I see.
and to approach things with a more positive mindset.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've been talking about all this positive stuff. But what about when things go wrong?
Yeah.
What about the times when we make mistakes or we face setbacks?
Well, you want to embrace those mistakes as learning opportunities.
How do we do that?
Well, instead of criticizing yourself
Right.
when something goes wrong,
Right.
try to reframe it as a chance to grow.
Okay.
Every mistake gives you valuable feedback
Okay.
that you can use to improve in the future.
Uh-huh.
It's not a reflection of you as a person.
Okay.
It's just part of the process.
I think that's a really hard one for a lot of people.
It is.
It's really easy to internalize those mistakes
It is.
as personal failures.
I understand. But you can adjust that internal dialogue.
Okay, so instead of saying I failed,
Right.
I could say,
You could say that didn't go as I intended,
okay.
but I learned some valuable lessons,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to use that knowledge to do better next time.
Okay.
So
So I'm focusing on what I learned from the
Yeah.
experience.
It's about growth and learning,
Okay.
and if you look at successful people,
Uh-huh.
they often have a history of setbacks and failures.
Really?
Yeah. But what sets them apart is that they learn from their mistakes
Yeah.
and they keep moving forward,
I see.
So
So we have to be kind to ourselves
absolutely.
when we make those mistakes.
Yes, treat yourself
Okay.
with the same compassion you would give a friend.
Right.
Remind yourself that mistakes are normal.
Right. Everyone makes them.
Everyone makes mistakes. It's part of learning.
Okay.
And you are capable of growing from them.
Right.
And this self-compassion
Uh-huh.
not only helps your self-confidence, but it also creates a healthier relationship with yourself.
I see.
You know?
Okay. So we're practicing self-compassion. What else?
Well, another powerful tool is gratitude.
Okay.
And by focusing on what you're grateful for,
Mm-hmm.
you're shifting your attention away from the negative
Okay.
and onto the positive.
Right.
And this can really reduce negative self-talk,
I see.
you know?
So how do we actually use gratitude?
One way is to make a list every day
Okay.
of 3 to 5 things you're grateful for.
Okay.
You can do this in the morning or in the evening,
Okay.
and it helps you to start or end your day
Right.
on a positive note.
And these don't have to be huge things, right?
No, not at all. You know,
Yeah.
they can be small everyday things.
Like what?
A cup of coffee, a nice conversation,
Right.
a sunny day.
Okay.
You know, all these little things
I see.
can really lift your mood.
So by focusing on what I appreciate,
Yes.
I'm naturally kind of counteracting
Like
that
that.
negativity.
And when you combine gratitude with positive self-talk,
Uh-huh.
it creates this amazing upward spiral.
Oh, interesting.
You know, the more grateful you are,
Uh,
the more you notice the positive,
right.
and that fuels more positive self-talk.
It keeps going.
It's a beautiful cycle.
Okay, so we've got this whole framework now. But how do we make sure these techniques stick?
Yeah.
You know, how do we make them habits instead of just things we try once?
Well, consistency is really important.
Right.
You know, it's not a quick fix.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
Okay, so how do we stay consistent?
Well, you can set reminders for yourself
Okay.
throughout the day
Uh-huh.
just to check in with your thoughts.
Okay, like little mental check-ins.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
And you can keep a positive self-talk journal.
Cool.
You know, write down your successes,
Uh-huh.
your positive affirmations. Anytime you successfully reframed a negative thought.
This is I can see how I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
a record of your progress.
I like that.
And it reinforces those positive beliefs.
And it's encouraging
Hey.
to look back and see,
Exactly.
oh, I've come so far.
Now remember,
Okay.
consistency doesn't mean perfection.
Right.
There will be days when it's harder,
Uh-huh.
and that's okay. Just keep practicing.
So don't get discouraged.
Don't give up. You know,
Okay.
when you notice those negative thoughts,
Right.
just gently redirect yourself.
Back to the positive.
Back to the positive, exactly.
Okay, and the more we do this, the easier it becomes.
It does. It becomes more automatic,
Okay.
you know?
We talked about affirmations being specific.
Yes.
Are there other things to keep in mind?
Yeah. You know, it's really important to state your affirmations in the present tense
Okay.
and in a positive way.
So instead of saying, I will be more confident,
Right. You would say, I am confident.
I am confident.
Exactly. You know, and you want to create that sense of immediacy.
Right, like it's already happening.
It's already true.
Mhm.
And remember to connect with the emotion. Don't just say the words.
Right.
Feel them.
Feel them.
You know, the more emotion you put into it,
Uh-huh.
the more powerful they become.
Like planting seeds
Yeah,
and nurturing them.
that's a great way to put it. You know, and you can experiment with different ones to use them.
Okay.
You know, say them out loud.
Huh.
Write them down.
Okay.
Record yourself saying them.
Interesting.
Find what works best for you.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the idea of celebrating those small wins.
Yes.
Why are those so important?
Because they provide evidence
Of what?
of your capabilities.
Uh-huh.
You know, they reinforce positive behavior,
Mhm.
and they don't have to be big things. It can be completing a task,
Okay.
communicating effectively,
Uh-huh.
sticking to a healthy habit,
Okay.
you know, acknowledge every step forward.
It's like giving yourself a pat on the back.
Exactly.
You know, job well done.
And we often get so focused on the big goals
right.
that we forget to celebrate the little wins. But those small wins build momentum
Okay.
and they keep you motivated,
Right.
you know, and they reinforce that positive self-image.
And you mentioned sharing those wins.
Yes.
Why is that helpful?
Well, when you share your accomplishments,
Okay.
you get external validation
Okay.
and positive reinforcement.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, tell a friend or a colleague,
Right.
and their positive feedback can boost your confidence.
Right.
And it also creates connection and encouragement.
Yeah, like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
Okay, this is great. Let's talk more about self-compassion
Yeah,
because this feels really important
it is.
when we're trying to change
Absolutely.
these deeply ingrained thought patterns.
Self-compassion is key.
Okay.
It's about treating yourself
Mhm.
with the same kindness you would give a friend.
Okay.
You know, recognize that setbacks are normal.
Right.
And don't beat yourself up
When you mess up.
when you don't meet your expectations. Exactly.
Yeah, it's easy to get discouraged.
It is.
When we slip back into those old patterns.
I know, but you have to remember that progress isn't always linear.
Right.
You know, there will be times when you
Right.
go back to those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And when that happens, don't judge yourself.
Okay.
Just acknowledge the thought
Yeah.
Remind yourself of your goals
Right.
and gently redirect your focus
Back to the positive.
back to the positive.
Okay.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
So be patient with yourself.
Okay.
Self-compassion is about accepting your imperfections
Uh-huh.
without judging yourself.
Okay.
Everyone makes mistakes.
Right.
Everyone struggles.
Yeah.
So give yourself permission to learn and grow at your own pace.
That's a good reminder.
Be kind to yourself
Okay.
and celebrate every step forward,
No matter how small.
no matter how small.
Okay.
That
feels like the foundation for everything else.
Mm.
Well, let's talk about visualization again.
Okay.
Is there anything else we can do?
Well, you can try to engage all of your senses.
Okay.
Don't just imagine what you see,
Yeah.
but also what you hear, feel, and even smell.
Okay.
The more vivid the image,
Yeah.
the more powerful it will be.
So I'm really trying to create this immersive experience in my mind.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as we said before,
Uh,
visualization can be really helpful before events
okay.
that make you anxious, like
Yeah.
presentations or difficult conversations.
Uh-huh.
By mentally rehearsing,
Right.
you're building confidence.
Okay, so I'm prepared
Yeah,
when the real thing happens.
exactly.
Okay, now what about our environment?
Hmm.
Can certain people or situations trigger negative self-talk?
Absolutely. You want to become aware of those negative triggers.
You mean?
The people, the environments, the
Right.
types of interactions
Yeah.
that make you feel insecure
Right.
or cause you to doubt yourself.
Yeah, we all have those people.
We do.
Are those situations where it's like, ugh, here we go again.
And so once you identify those triggers,
So
you can start to manage your reactions better.
how do we do that?
Well, you can try to avoid those triggers
Okay.
if possible,
Okay.
or you can reframe your response.
What do you mean?
So, for example,
Mhm.
if you know that critical feedback at work
Right.
tends to trigger you,
Yeah.
you can prepare yourself mentally beforehand,
Okay.
or you can develop strategies to process that feedback more objectively.
Okay.
And setting boundaries with people who constantly trigger you
Right.
is also really important.
Okay.
And surrounding yourself